Hello and welcome to another episode of The Life Capoeira. I hope you've all had a good time over Christmas or whatever it is that you like to celebrate over this holiday, or you've just had a nice time if you don't celebrate anything at this time of year. Very pleased to welcome from Swansea my friend David Rhys Small, who has just started the Swansea group running again. Thank you very much for giving up your evening to come on the show.
My pleasure.
So let's start all the way back at the beginning. How did you get started with capoeira, and was it that you loved so much about it to keep you going all these years later?
I think it's pretty much as a young personality, young person back in the day is watching the obvious, only the strong. Before I even started or even basically trained in the style, is basically just watching the movie. Just thought, wow, it was just one of the most intense things I've ever seen. But as a person who's trained in different styles of martial arts throughout my lifetime, it was just something that sort of like brought me, into like the fold. I just thought this is something different. This is something unique. And I think it just like caught my eye from there on. Training, I started back when I was in Bridgewater College. We did a small workshop with a instructor that came down from London at one time. Unfortunately, I can't remember the name, but he did a great session. But I ended up going out to Australia for a year's sabbatical. Basically, I just wanted to go out to Australia, meet the family, rest of the family on my dad's side. And it was a case that I went to Sydney and trained up there for a little while as well. And then met a few people along the way and never looked back. What happened was when we moved down to Swansea with myself and my family, we met a couple of people who were interested, and we looked pretty much all the way forward, and that's where it came to head. It was a good little travel.
Brilliant. And it was Mestre Maxwell that you trained with in Swansea. Were you with his group from the beginning?
I wasn't the first part of the group. Basically, I think I was like the second Batizado I ended up in. So there were a few members that were in the group that realistically had trained for over a year. They met Mestre Maxwell going to Bath and came down from Bristol, and they invited him down, and looked like it was the right way forward. We've stuck with each other ever since.
And Mestre Maxwell's group, Fillet de Capoeira, became a charity of which you're a trustee. How did charity status help your capoeira group?
Worked really well because we did a lot of classes for like international days at schools and colleges. So it really helped sort of like build up that sort of repertoire of like getting the name of capoeira out there, and just basically like it's hard to explain. It's just basically like one of the members of a founding group, and you really want to show yourselves, and it worked from there on. So we basically had a lot of days where we would go down to colleges around Swansea, Gorseinon, a lot of South Wales areas, and we did a lot of festivals as well. And it got to a point where we were really making good leeway. We were making a good name for capoeira.
And what was the process like of becoming a charity? I mean, would you recommend it to other groups that are considering it out there in the UK and potentially beyond? Obviously, the UK's got its own legislation around charities that might be different internationally.
I'd say, on retrospect, it would be a good idea to do, but we just would like for the process of keeping with the charity. I mean, the unfortunate process from our point of view is obviously we had the issue with COVID. So a lot of things went out the window over the years. So as a startup, for anyone who does want to do a charity event, I would highly recommend it.
And you mentioned the pandemic there. Mestre Maxwell moved into, obviously, the classes not being able to run, moved into baking, I believe, to help make ends meet. What was it after that that led for the group to sort of get back started again following the pandemic?
I think what it is that over the years we we've all had a sort of like a friendship, a camaraderie that has taken process. So like for yourself, you'd probably say when training, when doing batizados, you meet people, you meet Greek people, and you learn to like bring them into the fold. So over the years, we've had a lot of people who've trained and then wanted to come back because they missed it. It's the kind of process where you want to make it fun for people. You want to make it the belief that it is something that they really need to like do to enjoy. But like it's hard to explain. I mean, we're always on WhatsApp. We're always on Facebook. I mean, that is the main thing that really sort of linked us all together. We've got a lot of people at different areas that need to communicate. And with that, we've had people always say, I've missed this, I've missed it, I've missed it, I've missed it 100 times. And it sort of like keyed it back into like life for us.
That's good. And have you got many new members started, or is it still uh, largely keeping things going at the moment?
The group is a case where we do have a lot of students that come and go all the time because we're so close to obviously like a university group. But I think what it is that we do have the the hardcore group that really want to stay and do stuff. But obviously, as we were saying about the pandemic, we've had people who have not trained for a long time and had like due to non-training, it's just basically like a lot of injuries that have occurred, and we're just trying to sort of like ease them back in, to get them back to that level that they want to be at. But yeah, I mean, you can never, yeah, but we'll leave it there.
Yeah, it is tricky returning to training. I think regular listeners might know that I've had sort of 3 years out of training myself with a hip issue caused from the lack of movement in lockdown quite early on, and very conscious of not accidentally sort of overextending or straining things as you go back, because your body's going to try and remember to do things and actually your muscles are maybe a little bit too tight for. And I'm very conscious that when it comes to recovery is to slowly, I'd rather do things slowly and get back as like a marathon more than a sprint, for the risk of
Yeah.
another long period of time where I can't train because training's so good.
No, I mean, I'm the same. During lockdown, I was actually talking to some neighbors who were actually interested in doing it. So obviously we had to do the distance training. So our favorite training facility during the summer of the pandemic was basically using a chair on our driveway. So obviously, like due to social distancing, that was the case. But because you couldn't have the space to do as much of a beneficial warm up, there were a little bit of niggles left, right, and centre that caused a little bit of problems. But I think now, because we're back, we as a group we want to try and get a little bit of emphasis on what I like to say is it's almost like the Bruce Lee kind of term of I don't fear the person that trains 1,000 kicks. I fear the person that trains one kick 1,000 times.
I think yeah,
We want to try and build that kind of belief up. So rather than going through 1,000 things in once, we want to try and go through basics and get them back to where they need to be. So yeah, I mean, I've had a shoulder issue for a long time. Doing Ponchi is, yeah, but yeah, I think it's just just going through a lot of warm up procedures now, getting back to full structure of training capoeira, going through the right kind of way is what we're trying to get back to doing. It's you miss it, and like you missed it for so long. You just got to try and remember what you had back then and what you're bringing back in now.
yeah. And I think the other thing, as your sort of bodies get older, it doesn't necessarily stop you from doing things. You just need to make sure that you're very conscious of how your body is feeling when you're
Yeah,
doing it, and to, remember that if you've had a long time out, that actually you do need to maybe not kick quite so high and
yeah.
form, and then that fluidity of movement will come in time, and the flexibility and so on. At least that's what I'm hoping.
I mean, it's the same kind of function. Like I train people out of a gym for like classes for personal training from Macanis in Llanelli, and I have to do the same thing. I have to functionally think: can they do the same thing that they used to do when they were doing classes? All that time back. So we have to sort of take a step back to go 2 steps forward.
I think a silver lining to the experience, though, is to then very much go through a lot of the experiences that a lot of beginners have. It can be very easy when you start teaching and you've been doing capoeira for a decade or whatever, and you've got your fitness and your flexibility and your core strength and everything else.
Yeah,
And just to think, actually, this is a lot of people who don't have those things and come to capoeira. This is what they're going through, and to actually sort of to live that, I think is going to be sort of quite helpful in the way of you try and give them breakdowns or easier modifications that they can do so that all the moves are successful and they can build up the strength. But actually, having had that experience, when I started training again, Esquiva one couldn't reach the ground, and I was surprised that that degree of flexibility, which had I've never not been that flexible because I did sort of kung fu and tai chi and sixth form things. It's surprising my body wouldn't move like that.
yeah,
But
yeah.
finally got it back, which is nice.
Good, good.
Which I guess leads us nicely into New Year's resolutions. What are you planning for next year, or do you not tend to make New Year's resolutions?
Well, I've never really in the past, but because of the level of where we are at the moment in the group, next year is like I believe is our 20-year anniversary. Because 10 years ago we had the Mestre Accordion down. I believe you were there
Yeah,
uh, then. So I think it's going to be our next Batizado for a long time. So hopefully we will get ready for that. So my New Year's resolution is a lot more going through basics, but a lot more training in the fundamentals like macaco. My macaco is gone since since pandemic, and I want to do almost like, as you say, like you're doing like 100 a day or whatever. It's you just need to try and sort of like improve on it, and I'm setting myself a little standard. So our class is normally like an hour long. So what I told the class is, if you want to stay on for half an hour, we train one technique for 1 month. So macaco for 1 month, and get everyone up to a standard. And if no one's up to a standard, we keep going until everyone's up to a standard. So I don't want anyone to feel like anyone's falling behind. So if someone's got it, someone's got it. That's brilliant. But we want to try and get the group getting that function on. We want to work together rather than we don't want to get the individual, advancing. We'd love to get everyone advancing together if that's possible. But again, my idea is to try and get half an hour after every session, one technique down to a T.
that sounds achievable.
Yeah.
Got a plan for it as well, which is nice. A lot
Yeah.
of times, if you just, I guess the good thing there is the opting in for sort of an extra half hour.
Yeah.
I find in your regular classes, sometimes students who haven't fully caught the capoeira bug yet,
Yeah.
when you just keep doing the same thing, obviously their enthusiasm for the classes can sometimes wane, which you obviously don't want to do,
Yeah.
which you have. But um, good luck with that. That sounds very achievable.
Thank you very much.
So the last question for the podcast is, what is capoeira?
Ooh, ooh, ooh. You've really gone deep on that one now, haven't you? For me personally, capoeira is, from my belief, friendship, training, and learning connected. It's I don't know what it is. As I said, like you've trained in different styles, I've trained in different styles, and with this, you meet more people more groups through training capoeira. You get more friendships through capoeira. And I think that is what sort of like really kicked my box with it. It's something that sort of like strive me to like try and get everything back to where it should be with the group, to get us out there, to get us going to different events, to meet people, to do more for the name. So yeah, I think those three like connect in one strong belief.
Thank you.
That yeah.
Are there any closing thoughts or comments you'd like to leave with the listeners, and perhaps a promotion of your classes, when and where that they are?
We are yeah, what we'll do is we'll go with the class Swansea Capoeira. Ilha de Capoeira is basically held in Swansea, Bryn Mill Community Centre. It's 6:30 till 8 o'clock every Wednesdays. Any information is always on the Facebook page. If anyone wants to contact us directly, you have my direct details on the Facebook page, and also there is information with Meshru Maxwell as well. But yeah, I hope to see everyone soon, and that's basically it.
It will be Facebook page below. And the final thing, to remind you all that the end of January, 28th of January, we've got an event in Chichester to celebrate my birthday. If you can't make it to Chichester in the UK, you can buy tickets for the lesson with Primo, which is going to be streamed live from Belo Horizonte. And the details for the event will be below, as I say. And after Mestre Primo, we've got a session with Mestre Fantasma, followed by a Hodder. So it'd be lovely to see as many of you there as possible, whether in real life or online. And the last thing to say, of course, is you all have a happy new year and a prosperous 2024. No doubt it'll come with ups and downs, but hopefully there's more ups than downs for you. Thank you very much for listening, and until next time, ciao.